September 1939. Britain declares war. Royal artillery batteries rumble forward, towing guns born in the age of top hats and horse teams. Across the water, the Wehrmacht fields crisp, modern pieces printed from 1930s blueprints. On paper, this looks like a mismatch. In practice, Britain is about to demonstrate a ruthless truth of war. Precision beats pedigree. That new British gun of WWI-II, the 25-pounder, wasn't new at all. It was a brilliant remix of the old QF 18-pounder, the Western Front workhorse that hurled millions of shells between 1914 and 1918. By the time Neville Chamberlain told the nation they were at war, roughly 1,000 converted guns were ready. Analysts winced. The War Office worried. Treasury constraints had forced a bodge. Reuse what's in depots, not what's on drawing boards. It felt like penny pinching. It turned out to be genius. From the sands of Cyrenaica to the bocage of Normandy, from Tobruk to the Rhine bridges, Commonwealth gunners came to trust one thing above all. When a forward observer said, "Drop 2, right 50, the 25-pounders put steel exactly there. German and American doctrine could drown a grid square. British batteries could pick a window. The seed, a quick-firing revolution, 1904-1918. The story starts at Woolwich in 1904 with the QF 18-pounder. QF, quick-firing, mattered. Instead of the whole carriage lurching back, a hydrospring recoil system let only the barrel slide and return, so the sights stayed on. Rates spiked to 20 rounds a minute. The 18.5 lb shell wasn't colossal, and 6,500 yards wasn't epic range, but for a mobile field piece it was transformative. Then came the Great War. Ypres, Somme, Passchendaele. 4 years of industrial artillery. Gunners learned the black art of accuracy under pressure, telephone corrections, wireless nets, wind and temperature tables, and the terrifying elegance of the creeping barrage. By 1918, the Royal Artillery had compiled a library of hard physics and harder lessons. Barrel wear curves, propellant behavior by temperature, drift, dispersion, the lot. The war ended with depots stacked with 18-pounders, some worn to ghosts, some nearly new, and an institutional memory unmatched anywhere. The famine years and a radical constraint. Peace brought austerity with teeth. The 10-year rule starved procurement. The army couldn't justify brand-new artillery. The Treasury wouldn't pay for it, even if it could. Yet range expectations were rising. Mobility mattered more, and 3.3-inch he began to feel light. So Woolwich proposed heresy. Don't design a new gun, convert what we have. Bore out the 18-pounder tubes from 3.3 to 87.6 millimeter, fire a 25 lb shell, and mount the barrel on a modern carriage. It sounded like a compromise. It forced brilliance. By 1935, the plan was formal. Trials followed in 1936. The result wasn't just an old barrel on a new axle. It was a system. Carriage, Mech 2, split trails for a wide stance. A circular firing platform for 360D traverse, without heaving the trails, fast into action, faster to shift. Muzzle brake. A purposeful, efficient design cutting felt recoil by roughly a third, keeping the gun flat, sights honest, cruise fast. Sight, number 11 miles per hour Q and kin. Fine graduations, spirit levels, and correction scales for drift, temperature, and wear, crewed by men drilled to use them. Variable charges, separate loading propellant in stacked increments, now 1, 2, 3, and later super, so the same gun could throw flat or arc high, tighten groups at short range, and stretch when needed. Conversion lines spun up in 1938. Old barrels were gauged, rejected or rebored, rifled anew, proofed hard, then married to fresh carriages. When the balloon went up in 39, only about 1,000 guns were ready, far too few, but factories accelerated. By 1942, output had tripled. Quantity would come. Quality arrived day one. Desert Trial by Fire, 1940-1943. North Africa stripped away the clutter of Europe. No forests, no villages. Just heat shimmer, flat horizons, and a duel between who could see, shoot, shift, and not get found. Operation Compass proved the thesis. Against Italian positions, 25-pounders outranged and outgrouped their opponents, prying open defensive lines from beyond effective reply. Then Rommel arrived with the Africa Corps, and counter-battery became a knife fight. German 10.5 F-18s were solid guns in expert hands. The answer wasn't a bigger shell, it was faster, cleaner gunnery. Here, the 25-pounder's platform and traverse mattered. A battery could engage north, swing east on the platform to snap counter a mortar flash, then limber and scoot in minutes. Tobrook's 240-day siege showed endurance. Australian and British guns firing daily, living on the edge of counter-battery, still dropping rounds where they would hurt the most. Rommel wrote in his diary that British artillery made concentration impossible without drawing instant, accurate fire. The compliment stung because it was exact. El Alamein crowned the reputation. Montgomery massed roughly 925-pounders for Operation Lightfoot. In the first 24 hours, they fired over 500,000 rounds. Not as blind deluge, but as pre-plotted, corrected, observed precision. German officers later said British guns seemed to know where every gun, every post, every dump sat. The trick wasn't witchcraft, it was a network. Forward observation officers with line of sight and radios, regimental command posts solving the gunnery math, batteries on platforms that stayed true, shot after shot, with ammo lots that behaved the same round after round. Why it hit where others hoped accuracy is an ecosystem. Stable geometry. Split trails, plus circular platform. Minimal lateral skid and a consistent return to battery. If the gun sits the same, the math stays the same. Sight discipline. Fine graduations mean small corrections. At 10,000 yards, a 1-degree elevation error can push around. 175 yards long, shock short. The 25-pounder's sights and spirit levels were built for fractional tweaks, and crews were trained to live there. Ammunition uniformity, consistent driving bands, and weight distribution keep spin rates stable. Stable spin reduces dispersion. Tight lot control shrank the cone of fire. Charge selection, lower charges at near ranges flattened trajectory and time in air, reducing wind drift. Higher charges reached, super extended. Same gun, different jobs, tighter groups. Tables and corrections, propellant temperature, air temperature, wear, drift, baked into range tables and applied as routine, not ritual. The science never sat idle. It sat on the layer's bubble. Put together, batteries could neutralize a machine gun nest 12,000 yards out without erasing the adjacent hedgerow. In a war where more often meant waste, that mattered. Back to Europe, hedgerows, towns, and the Rhine, 1944-1945. Normandy demanded a different game. The bocage turned every pasture into a fortress. German guns and MGs could vanish behind banks and burst from ambush. The 25-pounder thrived on the call-and-kill tempo, FUs with the infantry, corrections in seconds, shells landing close, danger close, without friendly casualties. Operation Goodwood saw mass fire with purpose. Around 720 25-pounders helped crack open belts of resistance with targeted stonks. In Köln, guns fired Charge 1 at knife fight ranges. Weeks later, the same units were lobbing at maximum stretch to maul retreating columns. Flexibility without swapping equipment is its own kind of superiority. Then, Operation Plunder, the Rhine crossing. 3,000 guns, over 1,000 of them 25-pounders, layered smoke, timed concentrations, and creeping barrages on a clock so tight that one battery slop could unravel a bridgehead. It didn't unravel. The guns did what they always did, be exactly where the plan said they would be, exactly when it said they'd be there. German POW interrogations echo the same chorus. Rapid response, awkwardly precise. Hard to counter because the batteries kept moving and because the first ranging shots were already uncomfortably close. The human edge, ask the men who served them. Sergeant William Ross, Royal Horse Artillery. You knew where your shells were going. Jerry could throw heavier, but we hit first and stopped the argument. Bombardier James Mallister. Hands raw, eyes stinging, barrel too hot to touch, and the gun never quit. You fed it, it answered. Gunner Thomas Bradshaw, Italy. Counter battery is a race. On the platform we could traverse and fire another quadrant before their mortars walked in. Saved our necks. Lieutenant David Morton, liaison with U.S. units. The American 105 was excellent, but our habit was to kill the thing, not the grid square. Different philosophies, both valid. One defined by precision. Behind that precision sat maintenance culture. Recoil fluids checked, seals inspected, bores cleaned, sights zeroed. Accuracy is a choice you make at 2 Zodars with a lantern and a rag. The comparisons people argue about, and why the 25 PDR aged so well. German LEFH, 18, sin 10.5 mm, heavier shell, good range, sturdy piece, and heavier to move, narrower traverse, doctrine tilted to massed fires. Brilliant when ammo is abundant, less elegant when it isn't. Precision wasn't the center of gravity. US M2A1 105 to meters, a superb, reliable, mass-produced howitzer that helped win a continent. Its doctrine embraced saturation. British doctrine squeezed certainty from fewer rounds. 2 paths to success. One happens to prize exactness. The constraint that birthed the 25-pounder, you don't get a clean sheet, forced elegant solutions. The platform, the traverse, the sight philosophy, the flexible charges. Limitations can be cruel teachers. They also prevent lazy. Engineering. The long second life, 1950s, 1990s war's end, didn't retire it. It redeployed. Korea, minus 30 winters, mountain angles, Soviet pattern opponents, cold weather lubes, heated charge bunkers, recalculated tables, and at Imjin River, the guns fired for 3 days straight to keep the Gloucesters alive, dropping rounds within a football pitch of friendly lines. Malaya, jungle pads hacked from green, on-call support to patrols in contact, in and out within 15 minutes before the insurgents could sniff blood. Suez, 1956, parachuted in containers, assembled, firing within hours, because sometimes artillery needs wings. Indo-Pak Wars, 1965-1971, early Arab-Israeli fights. Both sides used them. Ubiquity is its own review. Falklands, 1982. The British went with 105s as primary, but 25-pounders still joined the chorus. Decades on and still trusted. Service tales. New Zealand didn't retire its last until 1989. Some users nursed them into the 1990s. When a gun lasts that long, it's because crews want it to. Roughly 12,000 built 1939 to 45. Many scrapped, many soldiered on. Few pieces from the 1940s earned that kind of tenure. What it really proves, militaries love modern. The 25-pounder proves a harder lesson. Define the job, then over-deliver on that job. Britain didn't build the largest, or the longest-ranged, or the most futuristic gun. It built, through constraint and memory, the most predictably accurate field piece of the war, operated by a system of fuzes, CPs, disciplined batteries, that turned tables, corrections, and platforms into outcomes. The conversion path forced discipline. No brute force, just better geometry, better sights, better ammo, better drill. The result wasn't a miracle. It was the compounding of small, exact choices into battlefield certainty. That's why Montgomery, nobody's romantic about kit, called it the finest field gun of the war. It did the thing commanders beg artillery to do, put the next round, now, where it has to go. In a century that kept mistaking complexity for capability, an obsolete gun built on Edwardian steel taught a different doctrine. Simplicity plus precision equals longevity. The 25-pounder didn't just help win a war, it set the template for what a field gun should be for half a century.